Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. We were gone for a little bit, but we're back now. So for those faithful listeners that have been keeping up with the episodes as they've been going on, you guys may have noticed that I was gone for a little bit. But yeah, just a couple of different things. Having to have a car, a rental, and dealing with that. Somebody hit my car on the road as it was parked on the side of the road. So that's been kind of a nightmare dealing with that. But thankfully I wasn't in the car. Just somebody just hit it while it was parked. But been dealing with that. Was gone for a little bit. Went to Arizona. Had a nice leisurely time. But we are back now, and we've got updates, and we've got episodes, and we have Q&As because you guys have been sending in your questions. And I've just had it on my mind that we need to get back on here. I'm going to get rusty, and you guys are just going to start doing whatever it is that you're doing without the pod. So you guys know the purpose of the podcast, Personal Trainer Hustle. It's simply to bring more awareness to like the business side of personal training, the career side of what we do as personal trainers. That's what I'm here to do for you guys. So we're not going to talk about, the squats and the lunges as much as we are going to talk about the sales and the marketing and, the personal skills that we need to bring into personal training in order to be more successful ultimately as a personal trainer. It's not just getting people to sweat. It's actually not even the most important part half the time. So that's everything that we talk about in Personal Trainer Hustle. It's the job, right? The job of a personal trainer. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about how success does not happen by accident. Okay. So I have 5 things that I need you guys to pay attention to today. 5 points. The way that I'm framing this is these are 5 things that you actively need to work on if you want to improve in your personal training career, right? So these are things that I need to make you aware. These are subject matter, important elements, important parts of yourself, of your training, of your knowledge, of your behavior, all of these things. These things are also important. And so today I'm going to talk about those things. Before we get into that, there is a job opportunity at my gym in Los Angeles, specifically in Culver City. I know a lot of you guys are out of state, out of the city. You listen from all sorts of places in the United States, but also in the world. So this is just specifically for anyone that is near enough that wants the opportunity, wants to apply. This opportunity does not come around often. So if you guys, feel like you relate to what I am about when it comes to personal training, if you feel like you want to grow and you want to really dedicate yourself to growing as a personal trainer, working at Logic is not an easy thing, but it will be a rewarding thing if you are willing to put your part into the job. And so we will ask a lot of you. And today's episode is actually going to be perfect if you happen to be someone that wants to apply. Listening to today's episode will be very important. That is the spirit in which that I have come up with today's episode. But again, the episode will be for anybody that works as a personal trainer, whether you work at a company or you work for yourself. It should apply all around. But this is going to help you kind of see what I am going to be expecting of this person that we bring on to the team. So you guys can go to personaltrainerhustle.com/apply. I will be linking it in the episode as well. You can hit the link. But in the future, some of you guys are going to be listening to this and, the time has passed, right? It's going to be in the episode. But if that's the case, you can still go and see if there's an opportunity and just throw your name in the hat, right? Throw your name in the bucket, and maybe we can do something. So there's an application form, very simple. You can attach your resume You can do it from your laptop, right, or desktop, so you can attach your resume that way. But there's also the option to just attach like a photograph file, so you can also take a nice clear picture of it. Don't be sending crooked pictures or blurry pictures, because already I'll know everything I need to know about you from there. So make sure that you send in a good resume and just answer like one or two questions on the application form, personaltrainerhustle.com/apply. This is to come and work at my personal training studio. So my studio is a private one-on-one personal training studio. For those of you guys that may be finding the podcast right now that don't know the story, um, that is my background. That is what I have created. Those are, more or less my credentials here as being the host of this podcast. I have my personal training gym with, it's private, and we work only one on one with all sorts of different people, different backgrounds, different abilities. And our personal trainers need to have and develop, more than anything, the ability to train multiple different people at multiple different levels with multiple different personalities and so on. So, just dropping that in here as we begin today's episode about what do we need to actively work on as personal trainers in order to increase our likelihood of being successful. So that's today's episode. Okay. Just becoming a personal trainer is not a guarantee of anything, right? Just because you have your certification doesn't mean that clients are going to come racing to work with you. It doesn't mean that gyms are going to be vying to, hire you to be on their staff. Okay. So getting your personal training certification is simply opening the door for you to have an opportunity to begin a career. Now, once we begin this career, I need you guys to understand the 5 things that we're going to talk about today. And I need you to see them as little plants that you must water throughout your career, right? These are areas in your personal training career that you're going to have to go back to over and over again, because you can always get better in these areas. You can always improve. You can always fall away from sometimes from focusing on these areas. I know I've been guilty of not investing enough time in certain areas at certain times in my career. So we're going to jump into it. All right. These are 5 things that you need to actively be working on um, as part of your personal training job, as part of your personal training career. And it has nothing to do with the sessions themselves. Okay. So the first thing that you actively have to be working on is your knowledge. Okay. The amount of information that you have the ability to recall and understand. Okay. So, this is one of the difficult things in the way that we, at least to my knowledge in the United States, we have a very bad relationship with education, meaning that we prioritize certifications, degrees, and proof that we pass tests, but we never really stop to think that the whole idea of getting knowledge is to be able to recall and apply the knowledge. Because again, right? Because today's episode is about making you aware of like why sometimes things aren't going right for you, why sometimes things are falling apart, why things are not moving forward in your personal training career, why sometimes we're not getting the opportunities, we're not getting the clients, we're not keeping the clients, we're not getting raises, whatever it is that you're trying to get out of your personal training career. Sometimes we are seeing that we're not moving forward and we can't figure out why. And the first thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about today was maybe it's because you don't have enough information to compete in the marketplace, right? Because you have to think, if you're not learning and someone else is learning, the moment that a client is looking for someone who has the solutions that that client needs, they are going to look for the person that can have those answers, that has that recollection, that has that knowledge, has that experience, and can recall that and give them answers to the problems that they're running into, right? That's one of the big misconceptions that we have when we're new personal trainers. We think, well, I can make them sweat. But what you don't realize is that that puts you at the very bottom of the totem pole, right? In terms of competition, all training sessions are going to cause some type of sweating. All training sessions are going to cause some sort of soreness, right? They're going to feel it for the most part. So, really, if you're just a trainer that gets them to move, you are competing with every single other trainer because that is pretty much the bare bones minimum amount of effort or of quality or of service that you need to give someone, right? So to say I'm a personal trainer that's looking to be successful, but I don't have the tools to really answer any questions. All I have is a really great workout. Well, the problem now is that you're competing with all the great workouts that are online, all the great workouts that are on YouTube, all the applications, all the boot camps, all the gyms, all the classes, right? You're competing with everyone that also provides a great workout. So, if you're wondering why you may not be moving forward or why you're finding it so difficult to compete, maybe it's because we are not actively building upon your knowledge, your database, right? You have to be able to recall and explain and have a deep understanding of the information, right? Because it's not enough to just have known it at some point and have a certification that says that you remembered it or knew it at some point, right? The more important thing is to be able to recall it when you need it. And that's one of the big problems that I see when I hire personal trainers. Most personal trainers are certified, but when I ask them simple questions about movement, about muscles, about angles, about planes, about regressions and progressions, um, we cannot recall. The trainer can't recall what I'm actually supposed to do, right? So you have the certification, but guess what? Now that you're standing in front of somebody that's going to give you the job or is going to hire you to be their trainer, they're looking for you to have certain answers. And if you cannot know them and recall them, or if you are limited in your understanding of movement, then you're only limiting your own career, right? We talked about this with Sean the other day, right? If you're going to turn on a camera and talk about your training programs, about why it's important to train with you, about why you're so special as a personal trainer, why your program, well, you need to be able to speak to an individual and let them know what your training is all about. So if you don't have enough knowledge, then what do you have to share, right? Other people are going to watch that video and say, I'm not impacted by this because it's really nothing new that you're saying, nothing interesting, no perspective, right? I think about, I talk about this with my mother, how, there's preachers, right? And there's good preachers and there's bad preachers, but really at the end of the day, they're all preaching from the same book, but it's their understanding, their awareness, their delivery, their depth, their own take on these things. So it's the same thing as a personal trainer. At the end of the day, we're all going to be doing the same movements. We're all working based on same information that has been, these programs, these books that are written, the science of movement, right? All these reports that come out and the studies that come out. We have the same information, but our ability to recall it, our ability to make sense of it, our ability to simplify it for someone, that is what makes you special. It's not that you're unique, but you're unique in your ability to know how to put it all together for someone. So you have to actively be looking for information, actively trying to get better as a trainer, right? Because this is the reality of it, you guys. You're going to get passed up. You're going to get passed up by another trainer, and it's not going to feel good when that happens. And you're going to wonder why, but it's simply because you couldn't see all the work that that trainer was putting in when you were off doing burpees for the 20th time this week, right? You were off just putting somebody on battle ropes again for the third month in a row, right? While you were doing that, another trainer was looking to understand and have a deeper knowledge, deeper understanding of movement, of the science of movement, of the science of strength training, rehabilitation, recovery, nutrition, stretching, active stretching, passive stretching, foam rolling, right, myofascial release, understanding all of these things that are out there for us to understand, understanding angles, understanding biomechanics, understanding kinesiology, understanding joints, understanding blood flow. I mean, the amount of things that you should be studying. That's why I have to make it a point, because I need you to be aware there is so much that you could be figuring out and finding out about, because you never know when you're going to need to recall it, right? This is something that I try to preach to my trainers all the time. You need to know. I know that you may not understand why you need to know more right now, because you have clients, because you're training, because the clients are having fun. But the reality is that you're eventually going to miss out on opportunities, because when that client comes and looks for a trainer and you're available, but you don't have the solutions to their problems, then this client cannot possibly train with you. You are not qualified to train with that person. And that's a very difficult pill to swallow for us, right? A lot of us are struggling with growing in our career. We're struggling with, why don't we get an opportunity? Why don't I get the clients? Why don't they call me? Why don't my clients call me back? Why don't they keep training with whatever it is that's happening? It may simply be because you are not qualified to work with that person, and there's many different qualifications to work with someone, but as it pertains to what we're talking about, maybe you don't have the information and the knowledge and experience required to be able to work with that individual. And so you think, well, why don't they like my program? It's like, well, they have a specific need or a specific question that they need answered that you are incapable of providing. So instead of having to deal with the loss of that client, having to deal with the loss of opportunities, having to deal with being passed up, you need to actively be trying to get better. Now, at some point, different people know different things, right? You can't possibly know everything, but you definitely want to give yourself the best opportunity to be successful, right? Like I said earlier in this podcast, success does not happen by accident, right? It happens to those that are actively looking to have more information, actively looking to be better coaches. So that's all I'm going to say. Number one, if you want to increase your chances of success finding you, you should definitely always be looking to become a better, more knowledgeable coach, no matter how experienced you are, right? You should always have an open mind to learn something from someone, to learn something from a new book, to accept something that a new study came out. And number two, right? Number two, this is the second part you need to be doing. So it all ties together. The second thing that you actively need to be doing is testing the knowledge that you're acquiring. Okay. A lot of personal trainers are training without testing. What does that mean? Do you have an actual program? Meaning, can you predict that if I do XYZ, you can have me at a certain fitness level by the end of the month, by the end of 90 days, right? How predictable is your program? A lot of new trainers struggle with this. I have hired plenty of trainers in my life, and this is something that every new trainer struggles with. And this is also why we have a hard time selling our training. Why? Because I don't know what's going to happen next. Because we have to be honest with ourselves, you guys. When you're a new trainer, you don't know what's happening next. You can't predict what's going to happen. You can't predict the plateau. You haven't done it before. You can't predict how much stronger someone's going to get because you haven't done it. So when you become recently certified, you have a lot of information, but you don't have applied information. You don't have real experience and real knowledge on the field. So as you are actively acquiring new information, you also need to be testing the information, testing different programs, testing what happens when I increase this, testing what happens when I decrease this. I saw a program that says that if you do this for 3 sets and then for 4 sets, you're going to get stronger this way. Well, I need to test it and measure it and apply it and program it into my plans in order to have a real deeper understanding of what it is that I do. And now I can become even better. I am a predictive type of coach, and it's going to make your sales and your renewals and your training all better, because when you speak, you're going to speak with certainty. When you answer a question, you're going to answer a question from a place of experience, right? And so this is going to develop over time. But I'm making you aware because, again, what's the point of today's topic? It's not going to happen by accident. You may be wondering why you are stuck in your career, why you are stuck in the amount of clients that you have, why you're stuck in your opportunities. Whatever it is that you are wondering what's going on, again, I'm just trying to make you aware of possibilities, right? That's why you need to be paranoid about these things. Maybe you don't realize that the reason why you're not getting more clients, the reason why you're not getting results, the reason why you're not getting opportunities is because your training is the same as it always has been. You have not tried new things. You haven't tried things on yourself. You haven't figured out how does having better endurance affect my strength, right? Sometimes we just assume, oh, if I do cardio, I'm going to lose my strength. I'm going to lose my muscle. Are you sure? Let's try it. Give it 3 weeks. Put a program together based on some type of science that you read about or heard about or learned about and say, let's see what actually happens. And you might realize actually improving my cardiovascular strength increased my ability to recover and put more work into my weight training. And now I have new actual real applied information that I could test with one of my clients to say, hey, you're stuck on your squat, you're stuck on your bench press. Let's try this for 3 weeks. This has worked in the past. And guess what? It makes you sound like a professional when you talk to someone. It makes it easier to be able to sell a package because you can predict, you can say, hey, this is what I think we're going to be working on in order to fix this issue that you brought up. But it only comes with experience, but not just experience. Experience is you testing, right? Because that's one of those things that drive me crazy. I have people come in and they say, hey, I have 10 years of experience. My question is, what have you learned? How have you improved in those 10 years? Because you should be 10 to 100 times better than somebody that's been working for 1 year. But if you haven't tested, if you haven't learned, if you haven't applied, then you're just as good 10 years later than you were in your first year. Because really, there has been no progress. There has been no testing. There has been no trial and error. And there has been, honestly, no failure. Because how can you fail if you're not trying to do anything? Right. So, this is the part of being a trainer. Part of being a trainer is also failing at times, right? You guys know this if you've been training long enough. Not everybody gets the perfect results, but that shouldn't be how things should just be left to be, right? You need to really assess again, right? This is about application, about testing. You should care enough about your craft that you're testing things out in order to acquire a deeper and deeper and deeper understanding of what you do, and then you just become unstoppable, right? Because any person that walks into the room, now you've stacked a lot of experience, not just time, right? That's the point I was trying to make. Time does not equal experience, right? You can get a lot of experience in 1 year, or you can waste a year. It's about what you put into that time that creates the experience, right? You can tell me you've been certified for 20 years, but if you've only ever had one job or one client, or if you've had your certification but never trained, you have no experience. You have 20 years, but not of experience, right? So experience is what you make of the time that you have and how intentional you are about what you're doing. So point number two is you need to apply. You need to test all the time. Test your ideas. If a program has worked, test it again. Did it work again? Test it again. Did it work again? Now you have real information that says, hey, the last 3 times, 5 times, 10 times I've done it this way, it works every time. If one time it doesn't work, now we have a new thing that we have to run. Or we can stack on top of it and say, hey, it's worked, but what if we increase the water intake? What if we decreased the calories? What if we increase the calories, right? Test, test, test in order to figure out what the best approach is based on real practical knowledge and not just the books. So you need the books, you need the courses, you need the certifications to give you the information. That's why that's step one. But step two is you need to have a relationship with this information. And the only way you can do it is by actively testing information as a personal trainer. So I'm calling you out because if you're a trainer that thinks I'm just going to keep showing up and putting people through workouts, you're not going to evolve, and you won't even know the opportunities that you're missing out on. Because guess what? You can always kick somebody's butt, but you can't always know exactly what you're talking about. So if you do that, you're going to put yourself in a better position. You can always have the same skills you had before. Now you have new skills. But again, I'm just trying to make you guys aware because so many people become frustrated and they can't see what other people are seeing. They can't see what they're not doing, right? In order to win and to get ahead. So I'm hoping that with today's episode, you guys can go, hey, maybe this is what I'm not doing correctly. Maybe I'm not thinking about training that way, right? Maybe I haven't read a book in years. Maybe I haven't really paid attention to whether my programs work or not. I haven't really planned anything out for the last three years. I'm not making a 1 month plan, a 6 week plan. I'm not doing anything. I'm just showing up and training. Hey, guess what? Maybe that's why things aren't moving ahead, because you should be thinking, you should be applying, you should be learning, you should be testing. So again, I'm just here to give you something to think about from my experience as a personal trainer for a long time, as someone who hires people for a long time. I have seen and observed and taught and not been able to teach so many different trainers based on all of these things that we're talking about today. So that's just where I'm coming from with that. Okay. So those are the last two, and I should have said this earlier, but now we're going to get into soft skills. Okay. So the first things we talked about are things that you need to learn and apply and actually do. The next things we're going to talk about are more mental, they're more personal things that the world can't see. And I figured it's important to talk about it because a lot of times we wonder why things aren't moving along for us, and we think we're doing everything right because we know how to train, or because we got results or whatever. But there are other things that also go into being a coach, and so we're going to talk about some of those things. Again, I don't have the answers and I'm not an expert in this, but I need you to become aware that there are other things, there are other factors, there are other variables that may be impeding your movement forward. And so it's important for us to shine a light on them, and maybe just kind of have a um internal dialogue, right? Or have a meditation. Hopefully you guys are listening to this, maybe you're driving or walking or working out or whatever you're doing, and you're thinking, maybe that's it. Maybe I wasn't thinking about it. This is what we call a paradigm shift, meaning that the moment you have new information, sometimes you see things differently, right? So maybe you judge someone, and then when they tell you their life story, you go, oh, I see why you're like that. That's a paradigm shift, meaning the moment that I got different information, the moment I became more aware, I was able to see it from a different point of view, right? So this requires, again, looking inward and saying, could this possibly be me? Like, is this possibly what's going on? Maybe if I look at it differently, maybe that's it, right? So for me, I'm just here to say, hey, maybe if I point a finger at it, you might go, oh, I didn't see that. Thanks. Right? Like I told one of my coaches a couple of months ago, I said, hey, I'm the person that's going to say, hey, you sat on gum, right? Other people are going to let you walk out of this room and let you go into the world after you sat on some gum. I said, I can't let you do that because I actually care about you. Right now, it sucks. It's embarrassing. Nobody wants to be called out and say, hey, you have something on your shirt, on your pants. But it's more damaging. If you really cared about someone, it's more damaging to let them go out there and maybe go on a date without realizing that there's something stuck on the back, right? Because we can't see. The whole point of the analogy is you need someone to see, because you can't see if you sat on something. You can't see if something got stuck on the back of your shirt. It requires someone else pointing it out to you, and it requires your willingness to accept that, right? A lot of us, people don't point it out. We're walking around with a kick me sign on our back, but we get mad when somebody points it out to us, instead of saying, man, thank you for pointing that out. It would have been worse if I never realized what was on my back. When it comes to a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you guys, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with today's episode. It's just saying, hey, there might be something you can't see from where you're standing. So I have to try to point it out to you. Now, I don't know you guys personally. That's why I'm just kind of going through a list and hoping that you guys are open-minded enough, self-aware enough, um, to just go and look and say, hey, maybe there is something here, right? So as we get into the next ones, that's kind of the light in which I'm talking about, right? And like I said, I'm not an expert in these areas. I'm just trying to point you in the right direction. So number 3, another thing that you actively have to be working on is your mindset. Okay. What type of mindset do you have? What type of beliefs do you have? What is the conversation that you have in your mind? Okay. What is it that you are that coming from, that the way that you see the world, right? Because where we come from does shape a lot of our beliefs about the world, but it doesn't make them true. It just makes them true to you, right? And so you may be struggling in your career because there is something that you believe, something that you think, there's a mindset that you have about the world that is not true. And so you cannot see what the rest of the world sees. You can't see what your trainer friends see. You can't see what your clients see. You can't see what the manager sees. You can't see it because your perspective is only from one angle. And so, working actively on our mindset to rewire our mind to look at things differently, to try to understand where other people are coming from, to have more life experiences is very, very important. I always share this story about a paradigm shift that I had to have because of a belief that I had when I became a personal trainer. I hope this story helps you really think about the importance of how we see the world. When I got hired as a personal trainer, I came from a world where all of my friends, we were pranksters. Okay. We were just boys. And our idea of bonding was to play pranks on each other, to set each other up, to do things like pull the table out, the chair out from under each other. We would, put something in each other's drinks for fun, right? And all laugh about it. We would make fun of each other. That was the world that I came from. It was a world where your friends are people that you need to watch out for. That's all I knew because that's all I'd ever lived, right? These people were just people that I went to school with, people that I went to church with, people that were just in my neighborhood, right? I didn't realize I wasn't really making these choices. They were just kind of made for me based on proximity. So when I got my job as a personal trainer, I ran into some trainers that were trying to be helpful. I did not trust them. I thought that when they told me, hey, go talk to that person on the treadmill, I thought they were setting me up for a joke. When they said, hey, I got this phone number, why don't you call this number? I thought they were setting me up for a joke. When they said, hey, let's go work out together, I thought they're setting me up to laugh at my form, to laugh at my technique, to laugh at how weak I am. I kept thinking that these people were like the other people that used to set me up. And over time, I had a paradigm shift. I realized, wow, there are some people in this world who just want to help you, who don't want anything in return, who don't want to set you up, who are not out to get you, who are not out to laugh at you, who are literally just trying to be helpful because it makes them feel good, because they have nothing to lose and they have nothing to gain. They're just kind people that help you. I had not experienced that up until that point in my life. Obviously, I had met good people. I came from a good family. My family was good. My parents were trustworthy people. But as far as relationships, friends, coworkers, I had not had enough experience in the world to also see how great and helpful some people could be. So thankfully, I remember sitting back and thinking and having this moment that I'm trying to get you to have right now. I had a moment of going, I'm wrong about this. I don't think that they are these type of people. Like there are other type of people. There are so many types of people in this world and some people are helpful. And so I believe them and they did help me out and they pointed me in the right direction and they were helpful early on in my career. But it's a mindset, right? It's a perspective. It's a belief. So if you believe, who knows what you believe? That's a difficult thing, right? If you believe that people don't want to pay for training, then you're looking at the world through that lens. If you believe that the manager is just out to make money, that is what you're going to see in the world. It's not to say that it may be true or may not be true, but you need to have enough perspective to see it both ways and really truly determine, not through a limited lens, but through a complete lens and go, okay, I've had good managers and bad managers. I've had good coworkers and bad coworkers. I've had good clients and bad clients. And based on all this information, now what do I believe is more true? But if you're limited to only seeing the bad or sometimes only seeing the good, you're going to constantly be blindsided by the other realities of the world that you are not aware of. So maybe this is holding you back. Maybe it's the way you think that's holding you back, right? You don't let people help you. And then you wonder why you're not getting clients, why you're not learning how to sell, why you're not getting renewals, why your program isn't working, why your diet program isn't working, why all the coworkers are fighting with you. Whatever it is, it might just be the way you think. It might just be the things that you believe and that make you project into the world a certain way. I mean, this is one of the most important things that anyone can do in their life, doing the mental work, the paradigm work, the belief work. It's so much of the formula. I think this is where a lot of people struggle when they hear hard work, right? I've heard a lot of people say, "Hey, hard work isn't enough." And it's like, you're right. The problem is you don't know the rest of that formula. You're actually right. A lot of people tell you, "Oh, it just takes hard work." I did an episode for you guys that want to go find it. I wish I would have, had notes for you guys today, but I did an episode called "Is Hard Work Really Enough?" And I'll summarize it for you guys. No, it's not enough. It's only part of the equation. But if your paradigm, if your information, if your mindset is that if I just work hard enough, long enough, it'll work out for me, you have a limited point of view because it also requires strategy, it also requires sacrifice, it also requires knowledge, it also requires experience, it also requires risk, it also requires so many other things, right? You can work hard, but if you don't know what you're working towards, it still doesn't matter. I could put you outside and have you dig a ditch for 20 years. If you don't know what it's for, you're working hard, but we're not getting anywhere. So the mindset around how you see the world is so important, and it's the hell that people create in their own lives is having a limited mindset, is having a limited belief system, is seeing the world through the lens that they grew up seeing it and not expanding out and seeing the world for what it really is, seeing people for what they really are, seeing opportunities for what they really are. And so what you do is you just kind of create the same thing that you believe. That's why it's so important to work on it, because if I'll tell you something super simple, right? If you believe that successful trainers are assholes, you will not be a successful trainer because you cannot be the thing that you hate, right? That's just one thing that I can drop on you guys, right? I learned this about money. If you hate rich people, how could you ever be rich? You cannot become the thing that you hate. You cannot become the thing that you don't like, the thing that you despise, the thing that you believe is wrong in this world. And a lot of people, this is what's so funny. A lot of people have been conditioned to hate rich people, but also hate being poor themselves. And so when the government comes around and says, we're going to give you a free check. Oh, yeah, I'll take the free money. Okay, so then you do like money or no? Well, I mean, if you have to earn money, then you're an asshole. But if you get free money, then you're okay. What the fuck kind of belief is that? Right. But we don't stop to think about our beliefs. We don't stop to think about the way that we see the world. Right. So you have to be careful what you believe. If you believe certain people are evil, if you believe certain people are unethical because of the way that they behave or they are, the things that they have, then you can't also turn around and want to have the things that they have, right? I'll give you an example right now, right? I am a gym owner. If somebody thinks, oh, Sam's an asshole because he owns a gym and he thinks he's this and that, then you yourself cannot get to that because you're not choosing to look at it through a different lens and go, what can I learn from that guy? What are the good attributes that that guy has that has allowed him, right? If you only focus on the bad, you'll never learn anything that will help you acquire it yourself. So a lot of people hate having a boss, hate the gym owner, hate the manager that teaches them, but they can't teach themselves. They can't do it themselves. They can't create it themselves, and yet they choose to hate the other thing. So it's a very backwards way of seeing things. So again, I'm not an expert. I don't know all the answers. All I can say is think about it. Be careful what your mind tells you. You might be lying to yourself, right? You might believe a lie. It takes a lot of work to really think and reflect and say, maybe the way I see things is not the right way to see things. How could I see things differently? Maybe read some books, maybe talk to some professionals, maybe pay more attention. Whatever it is, think about how you could be wrong, right? That's like I said, I'm not an expert, but that's something that I practice all the time to keep me as honest as I possibly can be. When I have an opinion about something, I go, how can I be wrong about this though? And why does that other person believe something different? And I don't have to agree with what they believe, but I have to at least consider what they believe because I can't just assume that they're stupid. I have to assume that they're rational and they are reasoning in a different way than I'm reasoning, and I have to hear it out and understand it and then form an opinion. And if after learning all that I still form the opinion that I had, at least it is a well-informed opinion, right? I talk about this sometimes when I talk to friends and family about politics. How can you know what you believe if you haven't taken the time to understand why other people believe other things. If you just walked in and you know you're right and you don't even consider how other people can be right, you have a belief that could be wrong. You have not thought about all the different angles. You have not, considered all the different possibilities. You are certain of something that is that, and you have created a certainty based on limited information, right? And then it gets worse because now when we get new information, we have dug our heels in so deep on this belief that we begin to rationalize. Why is this so important? Because you guys, we have one life to live. You cannot have a mindset that is always um, off or that is not being developed, because what if you learn the lesson that you should have learned in your 20s and your 30s? What if you learn it when you're 75? What good is it then? Right. So you have to be paranoid about that. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't know the answers. I'm just trying to point it out and say, hey, maybe you have something stuck on your shirt there. I can't get it, but like do something about it. That's all I can do. Right. So just be mindful of your mindset and your belief system around, anything that you believe. Right. Obviously, we all have to believe something, but try to be reasonable. Try to gather more information so that what you do believe is built on some certainty based on actual information and actual conversations, actual knowledge, instead of just a belief that you were taught, right? A lot of us just believe it because our parents believed it. There's nothing wrong with the beliefs, but you should believe them for yourself, not because somebody taught you. So this is a lifelong thing that we all have to work on. You're going to struggle with it at many different levels. This is something that I think about all the time. I'm like, why am I just at this level? And it's like, I've learned that it's probably the way that I'm thinking that is leading to the way that I'm behaving, which is leading to the results that I'm getting, right? So even though I don't have all the answers, I can at least kind of look through all of these categories and say, man, am I just not learning? Am I not applying? Am I not thinking right? And I can start to kind of go inward and try to find the answers to make my results better, to make my life better, right? But this takes a lot of work, just more than anything with the ego, because our mind is made to protect ourselves, right? So the first thing our mind wants to do is to reject it, right? Even now, as I'm saying this, there are some people listening to this that it pissed them off, right? It pissed you off because your mind is going into no, 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 no. That's not how I see things. And I'm going to protect my ideas and my thoughts by rejecting whatever I just heard, right? You may or may not be right. That's not the point. The point is be careful what you just did, right? You immediately rejected without considering. That's your mind trying to protect the status quo. But here, and I'll shut up on this point after this. The status quo is being protected, but it gives you the same results that you've been having. That's the conversation we're having today, right? You're trying to get beyond the results that you're getting. You can't get beyond the results that you're getting thinking the way you've always thought. And so if your mind's trying to reject new ideas, it's trying to keep you exactly where you are. Do you want to stay exactly where you are? Because that's what your brain is trying to do by rejecting new ideas. It's trying to keep everything status quo. It's comfortable, right? God forbid you have a new idea. It might get you to the next level. We don't want the next level. It's new, it's dangerous, it's risk. But really, you do, because if not, you wouldn't be listening this far. If not, you wouldn't be trying. You wouldn't be reading. You wouldn't be dreaming of new things, right? So the truth is, you want something else, but the truth is also that your brain is going to protect you from those new things. So you have to go deeper into yourself and into your mind to be able to say, hey, as much as I hate to hear this new information, I have to rationalize and say, this makes more sense. And who cares if I was wrong? Who cares if it hurts? Who cares if it makes me uncomfortable? Who cares if it's embarrassing? It's worth it, because this may be the door that gets me the next thing. And I'll be a lot happier once I get there, right? If this is what's keeping you from getting the next 5 clients, who cares what you feel? Don't you want those next 5 clients? It's going to change your life, right? Don't you want the promotion? It's going to change your life, but something's keeping you from it. I'm just trying to point my finger at, like, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. I'm not sure, right? I can just speak from my experience. These are things that I've had to live through, things that I've had to work on, and still to this day, I'm trying to figure it out, right? So number 5, I wrote down number 4. Number 4 is your attitude, which is tied again to the mind, right? These, like I said, this is all internal, right? So your attitude has a lot to do with how things go in your life. I can only think of the example of people that don't get their way in this world, and it's simply because they have a bad attitude that they cannot see, right? They have a negative attitude about things that they are unaware that other people don't have, right? So it's like the saying always goes, right? Like everyone can smell your bad breath except yourself. And it's kind of the same thing. Everyone can see your bad attitude except for you, right? So what happens is, and this is the sad thing, this is why I wanted to talk about this with you guys today. It's sad. I've met so many people that they are their own worst enemy, right? They get a job and they have a bad attitude, and then they get fired, and it's like, well, I did everything I was supposed to. You had a nasty attitude. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody wants to put up with that. Nobody feels good being around you. You're bringing up you're bringing down the culture of the place that you're in. Nobody likes that, right? They're trying to have a nice day. You're making it a bad day because you have a nasty attitude. You have a bad attitude. You have bad beliefs, right? You're just negative. You're sad all the time. You're negative all the time, right? It's not to say that these aren't all feelings that we feel, right? We don't all have a perfect day every day, but when you have a reputation of having a bad attitude, people are going to run away from you. And this is the other sad part. The only people that are going to gravitate to you are people who also have a bad attitude. And now you're going to begin to develop a worldview where everyone is nasty, everyone is negative, everyone's mean, everyone's depressed, everyone has this and that. It's not true. It's true because that's all you're capable of drawing in, but it's not true of the world. It's only true of your world because that's the world you continue to choose in. No positive people are going to come near you if you are negative. And guess what's positive? Getting a raise is a positive thing. Getting an opportunity is a positive thing. Getting a client is a positive thing. Renewing a client is a positive thing. Having a healthy relationship is a positive thing. Getting fit is a positive thing. So if all these things are positive and you have a negative attitude, then all things positive will begin to run away from you. It's just organic. It's just organic. You cannot expect to have good things in this world if you have a negative attitude, right? You can't get a client if you think this person's not going to sign up, right? Again, your mindset, your attitude about it changes the way you behave, right? So you wonder, why didn't this person sign up with me? Well, you had a bad attitude from the beginning. You treated them like they had no money. You treated them like they weren't going to sign up. You treated them like they were wasting your time. Your behavior mirrored your attitude about the whole situation, therefore giving you the result that you didn't want, but you caused it by your actions, by your attitude. And this is the negative cycle that a negative attitude brings. This is why it's so scary to fall into this. It's based on your negative attitude. You treat the client a certain way, the client responds a certain way, and then it proves to you they were never going to sign up anyway. Just like I said, they didn't have money. Just like I said, they weren't worth my time. Just like I said, I knew it. And this is just perpetual cycle of negativity. And then you meet someone and they're nasty and you go, see, the world's full of scumbags. Your world is full of scumbags. Your world is full of broke people. Your world is full of cheaters. Your world is full of trash because you have a trash attitude. And if you can fight to make it better, you will begin to see that it's nice and sunny out. You know, you're choosing to walk in the shade all day. It's a beautiful day. You know, it's just where you want to be and how you want to see the world. Again, it doesn't mean there's not nasty people. The problem is when you're in that nasty world, you can't even see the positive. There's positive and negative. But if you're only negative, you only see the negative, you only draw the negative, and then it becomes a cycle of negativity. And that's how we end up in bad places. And then we become angry at people that are positive. I'm telling you, because I've been there. I used to hate happy people. I used to hate positive people. I used to hate people that had success. I used to hate people that had a positive attitude about life, about negative shit, right? Somebody is saying, oh, you know, things are going to be okay. I hated that. I thought it was so stupid because I wasn't living in that world. I didn't understand that world. But I'll tell you what, once I did it, I realized shit's a lot better on this side for sure. Right. So I can just hope that you can fight out of it if you have a negative attitude, if you have a bad attitude, if you have a lot of anger and negativity in your mind and in your heart. You need to start getting out of it somehow by just choosing to see the positive. Like I said, man, I'm not an expert in these areas. All I can say is that I've been there and I've done it, and nothing good will ever come of staying in that place. And for me, the best thing that I ever did was become a more grateful person, and just looking at the positive things, right? The fact that I could see, starting with real simple things, the fact that I could hear, right? So, like you guys right now, you could hear my voice. You should be grateful for that. There's a lot of people that cannot hear. If you can see the screen right now, you should be grateful for that. You should be, fuck, man. There's people out there that can't see anything. And I am given the gift of seeing, and I can hear, and I can read, and I can work out, and I can walk, and I can jog, and I can, and then, oh, there's this person that I really care about. And I saw them yesterday, and they're still alive, and they're here, and I could see them, and I can hear them. And one day maybe they won't be. And you start to build up upon this gratitude. And this is the thing that you're either going to choose to believe me or not right now. Again, that's testing, right? Are you going to test it or not? If you choose to test gratitude, you'll realize that more good things will come. I don't know how it works. It's like a rule of the world, of the universe. I have no clue how it fucking works. I would be lying if I told you I know what it is that's causing this. I don't. But I'm not the only one that has figured this out. If you're grateful, if you look for the good, more good will be given onto you. It's like a magic trick. That's all I can tell you. It's like a magic trick. I don't know, I have my own beliefs around it, but anyone that claims to know exactly what it is, I don't know. But you should try it. So again, number 4, negative attitude. It's always going to bring negative shit. That's just how it works. I know I wrote character, kind of people you attract, but it's all of these things, you guys. So be mindful of your attitude. And number 5, this is like the all-encompassing idea, and that is your philosophy about life. So everyone has a philosophy about life. It's a certain belief system that we have about what life means, about what is fulfilling in our lives, what we're trying to get out of our lives. Philosophy of our lives is also the rules that we choose to live by or not live by. Um, it's your belief system, right? How do you see the rules of the universe, the rules of the world, right? What do you believe about attaining something, right? What's your philosophy around it? What's your philosophy that you believe around relationships? Is your philosophy 50-50? Is your philosophy 48, right? Like, and you might not even rationalize these things, but what's your philosophy, right? It's a set of rules that you live by. It's a path that you have in your life. So we all have it. But again, why did I put it on today's list? Because it's something you actively have to be working on as well. You actively have to be paying attention to your philosophy about life. What do you believe about life, right? I'm going to share with you guys some philosophies that I've had in my life, right? Some rules that I lived by. For a while, I had this rule that life was to be enjoyed, right? And so what I did is I would filter the decisions that I made in my life based on this philosophy. So my philosophy was I want to be happy and I want to enjoy my life. And when I had a relationship that wasn't giving into that, my philosophy, this is the importance of a philosophy, you guys. My philosophy would make my decision for me. I didn't have to think, should I keep them around? Should I get rid of them? How should I do it? Blah, blah, blah. Because my North Star was my life is short and I want to enjoy it. And if this isn't bringing joy, then I need to just get rid of it because it's part of my rule. It has nothing to do with who it is, what it is, how long it's been, right? I have a North Star. I have a philosophy that guides my decisions, right? So if I've made up my mind that the most important thing for me is to have a joyful life, I now can begin to filter and try to get rid of the things that don't bring me joy. Now, that was a philosophy, but it's changed over time as I have developed. Now I have another philosophy. Not that I have gotten rid of that philosophy, but now I have a new philosophy, and you guys have maybe heard it on the podcast. I tell my trainers all the time, I tell people around me, my new philosophy is you can try to be right or you can try to win, but you usually cannot be both, right? So what is this philosophy about? I have realized as I pay attention to the world, as I pay attention to how people get ahead, as I have realized the mistakes that I made in my own life, I have realized that most people would rather be right even if it costs them their life, even if it costs them the relationship, even if it costs them the promotion, even if it costs them, whatever good positive thing that comes next, right? So, for example, if I said to you, hey, I think part of the reason why your relationships aren't working is because you're not listening. And then you turn around and say, no, 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 you don't understand. See, I would listen, but the reality is, and now you're telling me why you're right. So you made a choice. That's my philosophy. You made a choice in that moment. You could have either decided to win at life, which means take the advice, make the change, fix your relationship. You could have done that. Instead, you chose to win the argument. You chose to justify your behavior. You chose to be right. And my philosophy, and I hope that this hits home with at least one of you guys, because it's been really helpful for me in my relationships and my business and everything. When you look at life through this filter, you'll realize there are more important things than just being right. And usually, in my attempt to be right about everything, I am ruining the things in my life, right? So I'm ruining my relationship in my attempt to always be correct and justify. I am ruining this. This is going to apply to you guys. A lot of trainers ruin the potential for growth in the business that they work in because they want to tell the trainers, they want to tell the clients, they want to tell the managers, they want to tell the owners how they are right about training, right about selling, right about relationships, right about the service, right about programming, instead of listening to what the others are suggesting might make things better. Again, this isn't to say that other people are always right and you're wrong. That's not at all what I'm saying. You're right about a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things that you as an adult have figured out and you're right about. But you have to think what's at stake here, right? For example, if I was your manager and I said, "Hey, after you're done, can you please always wipe down the dumbbells, right?" And you decide that's not my job. I don't need to do that. You're right. You're right. It's not your job to clean the dumbbells. But a year from now, when you have not gotten a promotion, you only have yourself to blame because you made a choice that day. You made the choice that I wasn't going to listen to the person that holds the keys to the raise. You made a choice. You decided that being right was more important than the reward that I could have gotten. And I always say this with relationships, with money, with everything. You can be right. A lot of you guys maybe want to start your own business. But if I asked you why you haven't started, you would have a very, very good reason why you haven't. And you're going to be right. But that doesn't lead to the business that you want. So eventually you have to say, hey, fuck, I can talk about why I'm right about not starting this business all I want. I can talk about finance, but at the end of the day, am I ever going to get what I want if I keep justifying this behavior? And the answer is no. I would rather be right. I would rather explain why than to do the thing that brings me the benefit. And so many people do this over and over and over again. It's one of, again, this is why it's my life philosophy, right? It's one of the things that I have noticed in almost all of the people that I interact with. Almost all people would rather lose the prize, but walk around with their chin high saying, I'm right about this. Even though the relationships are falling apart, their health is falling apart, the money is falling apart, their mental health is falling apart. It's all falling apart. The evidence is there, but you're right. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. You're right about your life. The problem is you would rather be right than to get the prize. In my philosophy, I would rather get the good relationships. I would rather get the better health. I would rather get more money. I would rather have growth. I would rather have happiness. I would rather have good friendships. I would rather have fun. I would rather travel. I would rather have opportunities. I would rather have fulfillment. I would rather have those things, even if at times I have to accept that I'm wrong. You know what? I'm wrong about that. Boom, good. Let's carry on. Now I get to enjoy this, right? Instead of being right about everything all the time. I'm just sharing that to give you an example of philosophies about life and how you need to be working towards better philosophies that are going to be your guiding principles in life. Most people don't think about it, don't have any, and so you just go with the flow, right? You have no principles. You have no like we talked about with Javon. Shout out to Javon if he's listening. Um, we went to Top Golf. We were having these conversations about life, about business, and he was talking about creed, right? As a man, you're not a man until you live by a set of principles. But you live by a creed, and you live it no matter what, right? You live it whether whether people are watching and not watching. You live it whether you're going to get something or not, because that's your set of principles that you live by. These are the rules that I abide by as a man. So shout out to Javon, right? But he has, guess what? He has a philosophy. That is why he is a winning individual. He wins at life. He's someone that I admire, somebody that I respect. Why? Why do I respect this guy? Because he has principles. He has a philosophy. He has a way of life that he adheres to because he sees it as the better way to live. So I'm going to ask you, do you have something like that for yourself, or do you just go with whatever? Oh, we're talking shit about this person. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just do it. I mean, I don't have a set core principles that I live by, right? I don't have a set of rules. I don't believe any type of philosophy about my life. I don't have a rule against talking behind people's backs, right? I don't have that. So I just do it. But then guess what? Because you don't do it, now things don't go well. Now opportunities don't show up. And you're, oh, I don't know why. I mean, I did everything I could. You didn't have a set of principles you live by. There is a consequence to those things. So you have to think about your philosophy, right? Again, this is my podcast. This is my show. These are my ideas. All right. So I could be dead wrong, but it's worked for me. And it's something that I would suggest you win. You know, your life philosophy, right? Learn from nature, you know, learn the way in things, right? How does it work? Why are things born? Why do they grow? How far do they grow? What do I do to prevent something from growing? Right? Think about it. You start to realize how things work. And once you know the rules to the game, you can use them to your advantage. So, um, you guys, those are 5 things that I thought about that I just thought sometimes as trainers, we think I'm the best at squatting. I'm the best at teaching how to deadlift. I am the funniest. I am the fittest. And we think, why the fuck is it not working for me if I'm all these things? All I wanted to show you was, hey, there's a whole slew of other things that you may not be working on that are holding you back. That's all. That's all. The way you look at the world, how much you learn, how you apply it right. I can go through the list of everything we talked about today. It's just possible. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. You could be successful without even consider any of the things we talked about. You don't have to apply them. You don't have to consider them. You don't have to do anything. All I wanted to is just say, hey, if you're struggling, maybe it's this. So just consider it. All right. Just maybe. It's not a definite. You know, I don't know you. People succeed in so many different ways. You know, people win in so many different ways. People succeed even without certain attributes. Some people don't succeed even when they do a lot of things well. So, you know, there's no guarantees in this world. There's no one set of ways of doing anything in this world. But all we can do is try to expand our awareness here and think, hey, maybe it's this, and maybe it's that simple. Maybe it's as simple as like your mindset is wrong, or maybe it's as simple as you're just not learning enough to be a good trainer. Maybe it's as simple as you have no rules to live by, so you're just a lost soul, right? It might be that. And people don't want to train with someone like that. So maybe it's as simple as that. Hey, if I read some philosophy, if I read about mindset, if I read about psychology, if I talk to a therapist, if I get a life coach, like whatever, right? The solutions, those are up to you. Everybody's different. Everybody grows differently. Everybody learns differently. So I'm not here to say go back to school or talk to someone or read this book. It all I'm here to say is, hey, try to adjust that area if you think that's an area that is not your best area, right? But you know, it's going to require being honest. So that is it for today's episode. It's not going to happen by accident. You have to actively be working on these 5 things and actively improving and checking in on these things and being honest about, am I working on these things, or am I just letting, you know, am I just going with the wind? Wherever the wind blows, that's how I feel, that's how I think, that's how I behave. I'm not thinking, right? So I just want you guys to think. That's it for today's episode. Um, Updates, Q&As are coming up. Make sure you send your questions in. I will be getting back to answering those. There's still some that I haven't answered. Really good questions about selling, about staff, different things that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed a couple of the questions I've seen recently. So we're going to get to those. We have the shirts on the website. If you guys want to market yourself when you're out and about, get yourself a personal training shirt. You can use it as a uniform. You can use it when you go to the store. You guys, it says personal training in the back, personal trainer in the back. It says personal trainer in the front with a logo. It's going to help you start the conversation. So we haven't talked about prospecting in a while, but it's a great way to always be putting it out there that this is what you do. So it's just marketing yourself even without saying anything. Somebody in line might say, "Hey, you're a personal trainer. I've been looking for one." And you may get a client that way. So it's good to think about promoting yourself in that way. And that's available for you guys on Personal Trainer Hustle slash shop. Um, but we also have Personal Trainer Hustle slash apply. That's for you guys that may be in Los Angeles or can get to Los Angeles. If you want to make that type of leap in your life, we can talk. But go and apply at personaltrainerhustle.com slash apply. I'm going to link it in the episode. You guys, we are hiring for one position at my personal training studio. It's one-on-one personal training only. And we try to really take care of our clients, be of service, and make it all about them. So if you're someone who is in fitness for yourself, it's not going to work, right? We're here to serve the people that are paying for that service. So if that's you and you want to grow, then you should definitely send in your application. There's no guarantees. There's only one spot, but hey, I say it's worth taking a shot at it. Anything else? Yeah, send in your questions to personaltrainerhustle.com. We have the what do you call it? The little file there, it's set up for you to just type your question in, send it in. We turn it into an episode. So if you have a question of your own that comes up, make sure that you are sending your question in to personaltrainerhustle.com. So everything runs through there. But yeah, that's it. We are going to be putting some workshops together soon. So if you see it on the website, then go ahead and sign up. The workshops are going to be at the studio. Super, super small amount of people that we're going to allow to come in. So if you guys go on the site at any time, you can always watch out for our workshops. They're at the studio. Workshops around selling, workshops around making ads for your Instagram or any social media, where we're going to be actually walking you through writing the script, helping you record yourself, talking about your service, helping you show what it is that you do and how to create that ad for you in your area where you work and putting that together. So that's something that's in the works. That would be a 1-day workshop. And obviously, selling, I want to show you guys in person how to sit across someone and guide them through certain questions, certain prompts, what you're looking for, what to say, how to present your packages so that people want to say yes. So that's all coming to personaltrainerhustle.com. Look out for it. It might not all be there right now because we're just putting it together. But if you're hearing this episode in the future, then the workshops, the t-shirts, the question box, everything should already be there. So always check into personaltrainerhustle.com at any point that you're listening, because all the resources are going to be there always. And workshops are going to be changing over time. Applications come and go over time. So at any point, you guys are welcome to just, hey, let me go check out what's going on. Maybe there's a job opportunity. Maybe there's a workshop going on. Let me go sign up for that. So we're here to make sure that your personal training career is growing and just giving you the tools to get more clients, build your client base, build your career off of training, sell training packages, all that good stuff. So um, I am your host, Sam Lopez, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Bye.